Hello everyone and welcome back to Real Disability, where we analyze representation of disability in the media by interviewing students on UW-Madison's campus. We hope you enjoy. Okay, so just start with an introduction of yourself.
Hi, my name is Madison Hickman. I go by Madee. I'm a sophomore here at UW, currently studying legal studies and pre-business. My disabilities are, the umbrella term for it is dysautonomia, but it goes along with 3 other chronic illnesses: Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, and mast cell activation syndrome.
Okay. What's your experience with disability, and what do you know about disability or any of your personal experiences with it?
My experience with disability is a little more unique just because I do have what's typically called an invisible disability, meaning that when you see me, there's no physical appearance that would indicate that I have a condition, but I do suffer from many conditions, which makes it hard sometimes because the typical representation of what someone with a disability looks like is not portrayed as well. So sometimes I find myself fighting with people who think that they're advocating for people with disabilities. Like, I have a handicap parking pass. I've had people before be like, "Why are you parking here?" So they think that they're helping, but in reality, it's hurting people like me who represent this smaller side of the community.
Yeah. How has disability representation in media generally, or for your specific disability, affected your lived experiences?
Yeah, I feel like I kind of little touched on that a bit before with the parking experience, but I feel like the disability representation in media is typically people with physical ailments, people who use mobility devices, or have some sort of appearance that people can see it and go, okay. Something that I really struggle with my lived experience is actually at the airport. So with my condition, I don't have anything physically, and when they say, it's pre-board if anybody who has a disability can come up, the amount of dirty looks that I get, I've had people ask me before, really? Because sometimes I need a wheelchair, sometimes I don't. It really just depends. So that is that's something that I'm constantly fighting with people, and it also just becomes a in your head kind of thing where people are looking at you and you don't know if they're against you, but you kind of have that mentality of everyone thinks that you're faking it kind of thing.
Have you noticed media representations of disability influence the UW-Madison campus or your experiences as a student here, and then how has that impacted your daily life?
I feel one way that media representations have affected UW in particular is through our teaching staff, through professors. As a person here who has a disability who utilizes the McBurney Center and through the accommodations there, a lot of professors I've had on more than one occasion have given me a hard time about using the accommodations I've been approved for. And I think that the representation of people with disabilities having those physical disabilities, trying to go to your professor and go in office hours and talk to them about your condition without self-disclosing your condition is really difficult, because a lot of times it is kind of, again, that mind game of do you believe me? And I've also found unfortunately I've just chosen to self-disclose, because I find that when you're talking to professors trying to get them to see how many absences I might need a semester, if I don't self-disclose, sometimes I feel like I'm getting less. I've had that experience a lot. I've also had professors try to guess my disability and just flat out try to reject my McBurney accommodations. So I definitely think that a lack of knowledge about this other side is affected our teaching staff.
Yeah, that's really good. Thank you. To you, what is the most important aspect to be improved regarding disability representations in the media? I mean, I know you already kind of touched on that, but if you have any.
I think, again, like showing the multiple sides of it, but I think also like the question is of like a majority of people who don't suffer from a disability, the question is like, what can they be doing to best support people with disabilities? Mm-hmm. And I think right now, based on TV shows, you see a person like, oh, I'm going to go open the door for a person who has a mobility aid.
Yeah.
I'm going to let them cut in front of me in line, things like that. And those are great. Those are great things to be doing. But then when it's those people who take that extra step and trying to be an ally, but they end up hurting people like me who represent a smaller margin.
Yeah.
I think it's like if our media just showed like almost a different side, more people with invisible disabilities. And I also think something that isn't really highlighted is kind of like, I suffer a lot from imposter syndrome with my disability, especially because like people don't realize it's invisible physically. It's not always invisible internally. Like I feel the pain, but then when I have so much second guessing around me in my life from my professors, from people outside who don't fully understand that, I think like if the media were to fully represent a person who's like goes through all of that, I think people would benefit from that, of like just learning the lived experience.
Yeah. What stereotypes in the media have affected you and how? And then if you have any specific examples that you'd like to include.
I think mostly the idea that, the only kind of disability is visible.
Yeah.
Kind of what I talked about, like using a mobility device is like the only way that people can like understand.
Yeah.
I think I'm trying to think of a specific piece of media that's affected me, but I can't think of one in particular.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's okay. And then what pieces of media do you think are good representations of disability and why? And this could be like movies, TV shows, Instagram account, a TikTok person, like anything like that.
So, ironically enough, I'm not a religious person. However, there was one movie, and it's like semi-religious. I think it's The Miracles from Heaven. Do you know the one where the girl falls into the tree?
Yes.
That one was very representative of my journey. I watched that with my family, and we were all in tears because I was not always sick. I had a seizure when I was 10 years old that triggered like how like certain genes can lay.
Yeah.
Like I don't fully understand how it works. I'm not into science or anything like that. But basically, I had a seizure, and it triggered all of these stuff. So at age 10, I just kind of like fell down a rabbit hole of sorts, and like my health started declining rapidly. Couldn't really figure out what was going on. Similar to the person in the movie. And it really impacted a lot of my relationships personally. I got kicked out of Catholic school, like all of this stuff.
Wow.
It took a very long time for me to find a diagnosis. I had to travel all over the nation to find one. And finally, when I did, that wasn't even the easy part. It was like still this whole, okay, now you've got a rare condition. How do you fix that? How do we get you back to what you were before? And like that movie was really, I don't know why, I just thought that's the one that comes to mind. I'm like, wow, that is like, kind of just shows of like the struggle kind of like internally, I think a little more, and that's why I resonate more with it. But yeah,
that's awesome. Thank you. Well, that's all the questions we have. Do you have any last like comments you'd like to add or anything?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, that wraps things up today. Thank you all so much for listening to Real Disability. We hope you learned more about disability in the media. See you next time.